Look at that leak. Ford Ranger truck. It's the fuel filter. That's the hose going to it in the front. Okay, this is a Ford Ranger truck fuel filter. And right here is a pinhole leak. And this filter was put in 2009. This vehicle went underwater in Katrina. This is why this is all rusted here. This is the second fuel filter. And we cleaned out the gas tank prior, but what's kind of weird, I thought it was dripping out of here, and had a lot of people tell me this was the connector, but right here, when you turn it on, gas pees out of this little hole here. So there's a leak right here that is a pinhole leak where probably the salt or just the water and the gasoline goofed it up. So there. And it just started leaking the other day, and so I've got up on here and wiped this off. And then this is a protector hose. This has got the old style crimp with the horseshoes. But not a lot of people tell me this connector is bad here. But it turns out it's peeing out right this little hole here. It's right here. Kind of strange. I think this is a... What is this thing? I think this is a Fram or something we put in. This is the second fuel filter I put in the last 10 years. But cleaned out the gas tank, but what happens, you get salt deposits and want to tend to tear up a gas tank. So if you ever have a vehicle goes underwater, you may want to replace the fuel filters more than often. Here's the old filter. And right there's the pinhole leak. I didn't actually circle that. It has like a kind of a corroded area. This is the gas that came out. And that's the gas that came out on the output side, which is pretty scary. Looks like crap. Here's what's weird. Element is loose in here. So I'm going to probably try to take this apart when it's dried out and see what the heck's going on. Here's the fuel filter. I cut it apart. It was leaking right here. This is sharp so you can cut yourself. But it was leaking right here. Look at the inside of that. It's all just corroded up. And the element in there was just loose. When you shook this thing, there's the element. This is from 2009. It's got about 5,000 miles on it. The truck doesn't get driven that much. So this whole thing just was loose in there, so there's basically no filtering action. I don't know if this was in here. It's supposed to be glued to this. I think that's the way it is. It's glued to that surface. So basically there was no filter in this at all. So it looks fairly good on the outside. The inside completely corroded through here. There's the fuel filter, so it probably hasn't even been really doing anything for a good while. So strange. I tried to separate the seam on here. What I ended up doing is cutting this, taking a sawzall and cutting this around. Been using mostly non-ethanol gas. That's a Ford Ranger fuel filter. 6 years use on it, probably 1,000 miles a year. If you ever take one of these apart, it's really sharp. So it's all goofed up. This looks like This is some type of putty stuff. Looks like it was bonded on the inside of this. The inside here, there's not connected, so it must be bonded on this base plate. And it just fell off. So the flow on here is through here, goes through the outside of this, and then this connects up in here. Again, gas flows through here, goes through the pleats, goes out. This just was loose as a goose in there when I took it apart. And again, it was loose before it was even disassembled.